My beloved child, how many times have you withdrawn simply because you felt you were not like those around you? How many times have you tried to make yourself fit into this world so you would not be looked at as strange? But I tell you this, a lamp was not created to blend into the darkness. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. You were not born to repeat the footsteps of others like a shapeless shadow. I have placed within your soul a calling marked with a distinct imprint. And even before you cried, your first cry, I knew you by a name that heaven remembers. What you thought was the difference that made you feel out of place is, in truth, the proof that my hand has touched your life in a very personal way. There are seasons you pass through in loneliness, feeling as though no one understands what is taking place within you. You see others fitting in with ease, while you feel like a bird always flying apart from the flock. But my child, do not forget that many of the most precious things I have ever created were different from everything around them. The Ark of the Covenant among the people of Israel was unlike anything else in the wilderness. Yet it was there that my glory descended. David, among his brothers, was only a shepherd boy who was overlooked, and yet I chose him to be anointed as king. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I am not seeking souls that resemble the crowd. I am seeking hearts willing to belong to me, even when they must walk a different path. Therefore, do not despise the wounds you carry. Those very cracks become the places where light enters. There are lessons you cannot learn in comfortable peace. There are depths that are opened only when tears touch the soul. Did you once think your pain was merely a chain of meaningless days? No. Every time you were misunderstood, every time you were rejected, every time you had to remain silent through the long night, I saw it. Not one tear has fallen without being remembered by me. You have kept count of my wanderings. Put my tears in your bottle. Psalm 56:8. I do not waste your pain. I turn it into good soil for the things that will grow in the future. Remember the story of Joseph, the son who was sold into slavery by his own brothers. In the eyes of the world, Joseph's life seemed filled only with injustice, betrayed, falsely accused, forgotten in a dark prison. But my child, every door that closed before Joseph was a step of preparation for the throne I had already appointed for him. Without the deep pit of that year, there would have been no day when he stood before Pharaoh to save an entire nation from famine. What others intended to use to destroy you, I can use to raise you up. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. And so it is with your life as well. There are roads today that you do not yet understand, but a day will come when you look back and recognize that my hand was quietly guiding you through every broken place. My beloved child, do not be afraid when you feel that you do not fully belong here. A seed does not belong to the soil. It is only placed there to prepare for the day it rises into a great tree. Your soul is the same. The world may not understand the rhythm I have placed within you, but heaven recognizes it instantly. There are things I have sown into your heart that others cannot yet see. There are callings still resting quietly like a dawn that has not yet appeared. But light does not need to argue in order to prove that it exists. It only needs to appear. And darkness automatically retreats. Therefore, do not continue living as though you are merely trying to survive from one day to the next. I did not create you to be worn down by fear. I am calling you to step out from your own shadow. Do not wait until you feel strong enough before believing that you have been chosen. Moses once trembled before the burning bush. Jeremiah once said he was too young. And Gideon once thought himself the least in his family. But I did not choose them because they were perfect. I chose them because I was with them. I will be with you. Exodus 3:12 is always the promise that goes before every mission. Perhaps today, you still cannot clearly see who you will become. Perhaps you are still walking through misty days, where everything seems not yet fully formed. But do not forget that the potter does not give up simply because the clay is still soft. It is patient hands that create the most beautiful vessel, and I am shaping your life through both tenderness and seasons of testing. The things that made you weep yesterday will one day become a healing testimony for someone else. The places that once wounded you will become the deepest source of compassion within you. So when the world tells you to make your light smaller in order to be accepted, remember my word. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Matthew 5:15. I did not place life within you so it could be hidden beneath fear or insecurity. You are called to shine not with arrogance, but with my presence within you. And true light does not blind others. It guides those who are lost. Lift your head, my beloved child. Do not see your difference as a burden anymore. It is the mark of heaven. It is the reminder that you are not a random product of life, but an intention woven by eternal love. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. There is no soul exactly like yours, because no one else has been entrusted with what I have placed in your hands. And when you stop trying to become a copy of someone else, you will begin to step into true freedom, the freedom of one who knows they belong to me. My beloved child, there are seasons in your life when you look back and see only regret. You call them years of loss, wasted roads, dreams that had not yet bloomed before the winds of life caused them to fall. But I see those things in another light. I do not look at your life as a chain of scattered fragments. I see a picture being woven with the thread of grace. What you thought was ruin, I can turn into a foundation. What you believed was delay, I can use as a season of preparation. What you once wept over losing, I can make into an empty space where something better may be placed. All things work together for good for those who love God. Romans 8:28 does not mean that all things are pleasant, but it means that nothing in my hands becomes meaningless. There are people who left your life and caused your heart to ache as though a part of your soul had been torn away. There are relationships that once became the place where you placed your hope, only to become the place where you learned how to let go. But my child, not every breaking is a punishment. Sometimes it is the way I free you from what no longer has the strength to walk with your destiny. I do not take away in order to make you poor. I prune so that you may bear more fruit. My Father is the gardener. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, so that it may bear more fruit. John 15:1-2. You were hurt when you were separated from what was familiar, but that very separation opened within you a new space for growth. Remember the story of Ruth, the woman who seemed to have lost everything in the land of Moab. She lost her husband, her security, and the future as people commonly understand it. Yet in the midst of grief, Ruth still chose to follow Naomi and declared, "Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God." Ruth 1:16. Do you see, my child? A choice that seemed small in the middle of sorrow led her to the field of Boaz, and from there into the lineage of the Savior himself. I used a journey marked by widowhood, poverty, and unfamiliarity to write a glorious chapter Ruth could never have foreseen. So do not underestimate the roads you have walked. At the time, you may have thought you were only trying to survive, but I was quietly leading you into a story far greater than you could see. My beloved child, I know there have been times when you asked yourself, what if I had chosen differently that day? You blame yourself for missed opportunities, closed doors, and years that seem to produce no visible fruit. But I am not limited by what you call too late. I am the one who can make dry trees blossom, bring streams into the desert, and cause dawn to rise after the longest night. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? Isaiah 43:19. You do not need to return and repair every old footprint in order to be loved by me. Place your entire past into my hands, and I will teach you to see it as a place where grace was quietly at work all along. Many turns in your life may have seemed accidental, but in my eyes, nothing is beyond the care of the Father. A meeting, a delay, a closed door, a timely word, a day when you had to walk a different road than you planned. All of these can become part of the rhythm of my providence. You may not understand why you must pass through a dark valley, but I know that within that valley, a perseverance is being formed in you that level ground could never create. The Lord directs the steps of the righteous, and He delights in their way. Psalm 37:23. When you cannot see the map, I still see the destination. When you see only fog before you, I am still holding your hand. Do not think that I must prevent every pain in order to prove that I love you. My love is deeper than shielding you from every storm. It is my presence that refuses to leave you, even in the middle of the tempest. There are foundations that can only be built in hidden places, without applause, without recognition, without anyone fully understanding. But my child, the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree will stand against the storm. The years you thought you were buried were actually the years I was causing your roots to grow deep into the soil of faith. He shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in its season. Psalm 1:3. In the right season, you will see what is hidden today begin to bear fruit. So stop calling your journey meaningless. Do not despise the slow days, the silent seasons, the empty spaces that still hold no answers. One who has been set apart does not always walk the crowded road. Sometimes your path will be more winding, more lonely, harder to explain, yet precisely because it was designed uniquely for you. It cannot look like anyone else's. I do not prepare you by copying another person's life. I prepare you through your own story, through the tears you have shed, through the faithfulness you have held on to, through the times you fell, yet still rose again, through the things you thought were endings, but which, in my hands, became beginnings. Be courageous and keep walking. My beloved child, do not wait until you understand everything before you choose to believe. Abraham also departed without knowing where he was going. Yet he went out by faith. Hebrews 11:8. And so it is with you. Every step of obedience awakens another part of the road I have prepared. When you dare to step forward, more light will appear. When you dare to trust, meaning will slowly unfold. When you dare to place even your broken pieces into my hands, I will not only heal you, but I will also use your life itself as a testimony that grace can rewrite pages that once seemed forever closed. You are loved, chosen, and being prepared, and not a single road you have walked has ever been outside my gentle hands. My beloved child, there are seasons when you feel as though your life is slipping away from everything familiar. The things that once held you up suddenly become fragile. The plans you were once certain of dissolve like sand slipping through your hands. And in that shaking, you fear that you are falling into a place with no escape. But listen to me deeply. Not every falling leads to destruction. There are times when I allow your soul to descend into its weakest places, not to crush you, but to free you from the illusion that you can save yourself without me. For only when your hands no longer cling to temporary things will you begin to learn how to hold on to my eternal hand. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. I do not abandon you in the depths. I step down there with you. There have been noises of this world that have wearied your mind for far too long. Expectations, comparaison, fears of needing to be good enough, strong enough, perfect enough, All of these have made it difficult for your soul to hear my voice clearly. So sometimes, I allow everything around you to become quiet. I allow the false anchors to be removed from your life, not so that you will lose your way, but so that you may realize true peace does not come from having everything under control, but from knowing that I am still holding you. It is in the deepest silence, when no one applauds you or calls your name, that my voice becomes clear like a gentle stream flowing through your soul. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. There are answers that cannot be explained through reason alone. They are only understood when your soul touches my presence. Do not call everything that leaves your life a loss. There are things you once held tightly that were actually keeping you in chains. There are doors that close not to punish you, but to free you from places that no longer belong to your destiny. I know you have wept while letting go of certain things you cherished. But my child, a gardener does not prune a branch because he hates it. It is the pruning that prepares the tree for a new season of fruitfulness. Every branch that bears fruit he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. John 15:2. Some relationships must leave so your soul can learn how to return to itself. Some dreams must shatter so you may discover that I am preparing something deeper than what you once asked for. Remember Elijah, the prophet who collapsed beneath the broom tree after great victories. He had no strength left, no hope left, and even wished to die. Yet I did not come to him through thunder or earthquake. I came through a still small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. Do you see? My child, there are moments when your soul becomes so exhausted that I no longer speak through noise. I speak through gentleness. And within that gentleness, I restore your strength. I know there are days when you believe you have failed completely. But even there, I am still building within you a foundation that human eyes cannot see. My beloved child, one of the greatest gifts I have placed within your life is the ability to feel the pain of others. But true compassion cannot be learned from books. It is born from scars that once bled. One who has never been lonely will struggle to understand the eyes of a forgotten soul. One who has never walked through darkness will not know how to hold another person's hand in the night. Therefore, do not be ashamed of what you have endured. The tears you once tried to hide from the world are becoming the waters that soften your heart. Carry one another's burdens. Galatians 6:2. I allow you to walk through certain valleys not to make you cold and hardened, but to make you gentle toward wounded souls. Perhaps today you do not yet realize it, but a time will come when your words will heal someone else, not because you have learned how to speak perfectly, but because your words carry the truth of experience. A person who has once been broken knows how to speak to another broken soul with a sincerity no theory could ever replace. When you have once been rejected, you will know how to open the door for others. When you have once been lost, you will know how to guide with gentle light instead of judgment. And that is what I am forming within you, not merely someone who survives suffering, but someone who becomes a source of comfort for others. He comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble. 2 Corinthians 1:4. And the day will come when you look back at your past and no longer see only darkness. The failures that once filled you with shame will become testimonies of grace. The roads that once seemed like dead ends will reveal themselves as the very places that led you back to your true soul. You will realize that the most painful things were not always the worst things. There were seasons when I had to break the old self within you in order to form a new heart. And when healing begins to take deep root within your soul, you will no longer live merely trying to forget the past. You will live with the peace of one who knows that everything they have walked through is being used by me for good. So do not be afraid if today you are still in the middle of the journey. Do not panic if you cannot yet see the meaning behind everything that is happening. A seed beneath the soil does not see the sunlight immediately, yet life is already growing silently within it. Your soul is the same. I am working in depths your eyes cannot yet fully see. And when the appointed time comes, you will rise no longer as someone dragged down by the past, but as one who carries within them the light of restoration, deep, gentle, steadfast, and full of glory. My beloved child, the world often fears what it cannot explain. So when people see a heart that feels too deeply, a soul moved by the pain of others, or a person who does not blend into the crowd, they quickly place names upon those things that make you shrink back. They call you too sensitive, too fragile, different from everyone else. But listen to me many times. Those words are not the truth about you. They are only the limits of how they see the world. A person who has never witnessed the sunrise upon the mountains will think light has only one color. A person who has never listened to the ocean at night will not understand the beauty of deep waters. And in the same way, those who have never awakened within their souls will struggle to understand what I have placed inside you. Do not use the eyes of those still asleep to measure the value of your life. Do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. I did not create you to become a copy of anyone else. Even among the countless stars in the heavens, no star is asked to shine exactly like another. The lilies of the field do not strive to become cedar trees, and the eagle does not bow its head asking permission from sparrows in order to be accepted. Every creation I have made carries its own unique sound, and your soul is no different. What makes you different is not a flaw to be corrected. It is the imprint of my hand upon your life. There were days when you tried to make yourself smaller in order to fit into the expectations of others. You learned to stay silent instead of expressing what was within you. You tried to shrink your emotions so you would not be called too much. You hid your gentleness because you feared being seen as weak. But, my child, a river was never created to remain forever inside a small jar. I did not create you to fold inward because of fear of rejection. I have come that they may have life, and have it abundantly. John 10:10. The life I placed within you is not a thin, fearful existence that constantly apologizes for its own presence. It is a life with the power to overflow, to strengthen, and to awaken other souls. Remember the young boy David. When the prophet Samuel came to the house of Jesse to seek the new king, all the strong and impressive sons were brought before him. But David was left out in the fields tending sheep because no one believed he looked enough like a king. Yet the one who was overlooked was the very one I chose. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Do you see? My child, what the world considers unfit is often the very place where I plant the greatest calling. I am not searching for souls polished perfectly by the approval of the crowd. I am searching for hearts that are real, hearts courageous enough to live according to what I have sown within them. My beloved child, there are children who, in their early years, carry the whole sky within their eyes. They dream greatly, feel deeply, believe boldly, and love without restraint. But as the years pass, the world teaches them to make themselves smaller in order to feel safe. People tell them not to think too differently, not to feel too much, not to step outside the lines. And little by little, many souls begin to live like lamps hidden beneath the bucket of fear. But I have never called you into that shrinking. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Matthew 5:15. I placed light within you so it could shine the way, not so it would need permission to exist. Do not be afraid when you feel yourself walking differently from the crowd. Eagles do not fly at the same height as sparrows. A seed cannot bloom if it insists on remaining inside its old shell forever. And a soul that has been set apart cannot step into its destiny if it continues living only to satisfy the eyes around it. There may be stretches of your journey that feel lonely, But that loneliness is not a sign that I have abandoned you. It is the necessary space where my calling can be heard more clearly than the noise of the world. There are people who will one day find hope simply because they see you daring to live truthfully as yourself. A soul that once believed it was not enough will begin to heal when it sees that you are no longer ashamed of your difference. Someone who once made themselves smaller in order to be accepted will find the courage to open their heart after seeing you walk in freedom. And in this way, your life becomes a living message without needing to preach too much. For true light does not need to shout in order to prove that it is light. It only needs to exist. And darkness naturally retreats. I know there will still be moments when you doubt yourself. There will be times when the old words people once spoke over you echo again in your mind like cold winds. But when that happens, remember that the most important voice is not the voice of the crowd, but the voice of the one who created you. And I call you precious. I call you chosen. I call you light. You are mine, Isaiah 43:1. No human judgment can change that truth. Therefore, stop apologizing for the softness of your heart. Do not be ashamed because you feel more deeply than others. Do not fear walking in the direction I have placed within your spirit simply because it is different. There are doors that only open for those willing to step away from the crowd. There are souls that awaken only when they witness someone courageous enough to live authentically. And this is what I am teaching you day by day. Your difference does not mean you are being left behind. In many cases, it is the sign that you are being led ahead. My beloved child, there are things I have placed within your soul that no one else on this earth can replace. There are words that must be spoken through your own voice. There are hearts that will only open when they hear sincerity flowing from the experiences I have allowed you to walk through. And there are doors that will never open if you continue standing outside them, doubting your own value. I did not create you as a copy among millions of nameless people. I placed within you a unique current, a unique rhythm, a calling marked with an imprint that cannot be repeated. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. That means your life has never been accidental. Do not think that if you remain silent forever, someone else will simply do your part instead. I can use many people to fulfill my will, but what I desire to release through your life will never carry the same color without your obedience. Imagine a great symphony with countless instruments playing together. If one instrument never lifts its voice, the music continues, but it lacks the sound that only that instrument can create. So it is with you. There are souls waiting for the light within you, though they themselves may not yet realize it. There are people who will rediscover hope when they see you walk faithfully through fear. And if you continue delaying, it is not because I have stopped loving you, but because you are missing the joy of stepping into what I prepared long ago. You often think you must become strong enough before you can begin, but I have never waited for you to become perfect before calling you forward. When I called Moses, he was still trembling and searching for reasons to refuse. He said he was slow of speech and that others were more suitable. But I answered, I will help you speak. Exodus 4:12. When I called Jeremiah, he said he was too young and did not know what to say. But I touched his lips and declared, do not say, I am too young. Jeremiah 1:7. Do you see? My child, I do not choose you because you are already ready according to the world's definition. I cause you to grow through the very journey of obedience. Every step you take with me will create new strength within you. There are people who spend their entire lives waiting for the perfect moment. Yet time passes and they never truly live. They wait until fear is gone before they act. Wait until every door is already open. Wait until they finally feel worthy enough. But my beloved child, if Peter had waited for the waves to become calm before stepping onto the water, he would never have known what it meant to walk upon the sea with me. Faith is not born from absolute certainty. Faith is born when you dare to step forward even while your feet are still trembling. The righteous shall live by faith, Romans 1:17. I do not require you to see the entire road ahead. I only ask that you trust me enough to take the first step. Do not allow old standards to continue binding you. The world often measures value by popularity, by applause, by who is seen the most. But heaven measures differently. I look at faithfulness in hidden places. I see every time you choose to rise again after disappointment. I see the days when you keep going even though no one notices. And it is within those quiet moments that true strength is formed. Whoever is faithful in little will also be faithful in much. Luke 16:10. Do not despise your small beginnings. A tiny mustard seed can still grow into a tree where the birds of the air find shelter. My beloved child, perhaps today you still feel small within this vast world. But when a soul steps into obedience, it becomes part of something greater than itself. A word you speak at the right moment may save someone from despair. A kind act you consider ordinary may become proof that I am still present in another person's life. A decision to live faithfully according to your calling may open the way for those behind you to step out of darkness. You cannot see all the waves your life creates, but I can. Remember the boy who carried 5 loaves and 2 fish among the hungry crowd. What he had seemed far too small compared to the need before him. But he placed what he had into my hands, and in my hands, smallness became abundance. They all ate and were satisfied. Matthew 14:20. So it is with you. I do not ask you to bring perfection. I simply invite you to offer what you have today. When you place it into my hands with obedience, I will do the rest. Do not continue living under the fear of what others may think. Human opinions change from day to day, but my gaze upon your life never changes. When you live only to be accepted, your soul will remain exhausted from wearing masks that do not belong to you. But when you begin to live from what I say about you, you will find freedom. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. You do not need everyone's approval in order to step into what I have placed within your heart. Therefore, stop delaying the calling that burns within you. Today is not the day to continue doubting yourself. Today is the day to move forward even without seeing the full outcome. Perhaps your first step will still be small, clumsy, and filled with hesitation. But every great door begins with one courageous knock. And when you begin to live with the declaration, "This is what I was created to do," not only will your own life change, those who encounter your life will also be transformed. For what you carry is not merely personal ambition. It is the breath of a sacred calling I placed within you before the world began. My beloved child, before your eyes ever opened to see the first light of this world, I already knew you. Before human lips ever spoke your name, I had already called your soul by a name written in eternal love. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1:5. You are not the result of chance, nor are you a wandering soul swept away in the chaos of life. Every breath you carry, every detail within you, every softness and every rough edge within your soul rests within my deep intention. Nothing about you is meaningless. There have been moments when you stood before the mirror and saw only what you lacked. You compared yourself to others and wondered why you were not stronger, more gifted, or more easily accepted. You once believed that if you were less sensitive, less vulnerable, less different, perhaps you would be loved more easily. But, my child, I did not create you to become a copy, reshaped by the expectations of the world. I do not need you to be like anyone else. The very things you keep trying to hide are the places where my light longs to shine most clearly. My power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. That means the places where you believe yourself to be most fragile may become the very places where my glory is revealed most powerfully. Remember Gideon, who trembled in fear and hid in a winepress when I called him mighty warrior, Judges 6:12. He could not see what I saw within him. In his own eyes there were only limits, weakness, and insignificance. But I did not call him according to his present condition. I called him according to the purpose I had already placed within him. And so it is with you. I do not see you through the failures you have endured, nor do I define you by the times you have fallen. I see the divine seed lying deep within your soul, the thing that even you yourself sometimes have not yet recognized. My beloved child, there are wounds you once begged me to take away, yet I allowed them to remain not because I was indifferent to your pain, but because I knew they would one day become oil for the healing of others. A heart that has never been broken will struggle to understand the silent cry of a lonely soul. A person who has never walked through darkness will hardly know how to carry a lamp for someone else in the middle of the night. So do not despise the scars within your soul. They are not evidence that you were abandoned. They are the marks of a journey I walked through with you. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. I do not heal you only so that you may find peace. I heal you so that through you, others may also discover hope. There are things within you that the world calls too much, too emotional, too deep, too different. But heaven does not see you that way. I placed within you a sensitivity that not every soul possesses. There are people who walk past the suffering of others without their hearts being moved. But you are different. You can feel the sorrow hidden behind someone's eyes. Hear the silent cry behind a smile. Notice the cracks others overlook. That is not a useless burden. It is part of your calling. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Romans 12:15. I am shaping within you a heart that knows how to carry the burdens of others with love instead of judgment. Do not think that I chose you in spite of those limitations. No, my beloved, many times, it is precisely because of those things that I chose you. When Moses said he was slow of speech, I still called him to lead an entire nation. When David was only the youngest shepherd boy in his family, I still poured oil upon his head to prepare him for the throne. When Peter was impulsive and full of flaws, I still made him a rock upon which others could stand firm. I have always delighted in using jars of clay to carry heavenly treasure, so that all may understand the power does not come from human perfection, but from my presence within them. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. 2 Corinthians 4:7. My beloved child, your true identity is not determined by the words others once spoke over you. It does not change according to the number of times you have failed, nor is it lost because there were moments when you lost your way. The world may have placed labels upon you that caused you to doubt yourself, but no voice is stronger than the voice of the one who created you. And I call you beloved. I call you set apart. I call you light in this world. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Jeremiah 31:3. That love is not based upon your achievements, but upon my nature. And the day will come when you stop trying to become the version others expect you to be. You will no longer live seeking validation from eyes that change from day to day. You will begin to walk in the freedom of one who knows they belong to me. And when that happens, your soul will bloom like a flower, finally daring to face the sunlight after a long winter. You will understand that you were not created to dissolve into the crowd, but to reflect a portion of heaven's beauty in the midst of this world. Therefore, do not be ashamed of your story anymore. Do not hide the parts of yourself you believe are weak. Do not continue begging to become someone else. I have never wanted you to be anyone other than yourself, the version of you I dreamed of before the stars were placed into the sky. And when you finally dare to embrace that sacred identity, You will realize that the very things you once considered flaws were actually the doors through which my light could enter and shine through your life. My beloved child, there will come a day when you look back over the entire journey you have walked, and your heart will no longer be weighed down by regret or shame. The things that once made you want to hide will no longer appear as marks of failure, but as evidence that I never once took my eyes off your life. You will see that even in your darkest seasons, when you believed you had been forgotten in this vast world, my hand was still quietly shaping your soul with a tenderness and wisdom far beyond what you could understand at the time. And we know that all things work together for good for those who love God. Romans 8:28. It is not only the beautiful things that I use, even the tears you cried in loneliness, the long nights no one understood, the times you collapsed and quietly rose again, all of them are being woven together into a story filled with eternal meaning. There are cracks you once hated, but one day you will realize that those were the very places where my light entered most clearly. A vessel that has never passed through fire will never know true strength. A soul that has never been tested will struggle to understand the depth of grace. So stop calling what you have endured meaningless. I never waste your suffering. You turn my mourning into dancing. Psalm 30:11. The things that once made you believe you were shattered will become the very places where others find hope when they look at your life. And when that day comes, you will no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" Instead, you will say, "Now I understand why you never gave up on me." My beloved child, I know there were times when you lived like someone constantly trying to prove their worth. You believed you had to become better, stronger, more worthy before you could truly be loved. But listen to me deeply. My love for you never began with your perfection. I chose you before you even knew how to walk rightly. You did not choose me, but I chose you. John 15:16. You do not need to reach the end of the journey before you are accepted by me. From the very beginning, you already belong to me, and all the years I have spent preparing you were never about making you qualified to be loved, but about helping you realize that you had always been loved from the start. Perhaps you have been waiting for some great sign from heaven, a dramatic moment clear enough to finally tell you that your time has come. But my child, many times I do not begin new chapters with thunder. I begin them with a quiet awakening within the soul. Just as a seed beneath the soil makes no sound when it first begins to sprout, what I am doing within you is also happening silently, yet deeply. The peace you are beginning to feel in the midst of chaos, the calling that continues, echoing within your heart, the sense that you can no longer continue living the way you once did, those are already the signs. Remember Abraham. I did not hand him the full map of the future. I simply said, "Go from your country," Genesis 12:1. And as he walked, the road gradually unfolded before him. True faith is not seeing everything clearly before moving forward. True faith is daring to step when I call. And so it is with you. There are doors that will only open when you are willing to move toward them. There are things I cannot reveal to you while you remain frozen in fear. My beloved child, the season of preparation has already completed its work. The years when you learned patience, the days you were set apart to grow in hidden places, the dreams you once only dared to carry quietly within your heart, all of it was never meant to remain buried in darkness forever. A farmer does not plant a seed so it may stay hidden beneath the soil forever. When the season comes, the seed must rise toward the light. And I tell you now, your season is beginning to move. Do not think you need one more confirmation before you can begin to walk. I have already spoken to you in many ways, through the moments when your soul could no longer find peace in the old life, through the gentle yet persistent stirring within your spirit, through the doors I closed in order to lead you toward something better, through encounters that were never accidental, and even through the nights when you thought you were merely alone while I was actually speaking with your soul. Behold, I stand at the door and knock, Revelation 3:20. That knocking is no longer far away. It is sounding within this very moment. Perhaps you still feel not entirely ready, but no one ever truly feels enough before stepping into something greater than themselves. Joshua had to step into the Jordan River before the waters parted. Peter had to place his foot upon the sea before he discovered that I would hold him up. And you too will discover new strength when you begin obeying what I am placing within your heart today. Be strong and courageous, Joshua 1:9, was never spoken only to those without fear. It was spoken to those who chose to move forward while still trembling. Therefore, stop living as though your life is still only in a waiting season. This is no longer the season of merely preparing, merely dreaming, merely asking for more signs. This is the season of stepping in. A new threshold is opening before your soul, not by accident, but according to a plan I established long ago. And when you walk through that doorway, you will realize that what I prepared was not merely a new circumstance, but a new version of you, a person more mature, more free, and ready to carry my light into the places I lead you. So move forward gently, my beloved child. Do not allow fear to keep your feet standing where I have already called you to leave behind. Let the past remain like a winter that has completed its purpose. A new season is already touching your soul. And even now, within every heartbeat and every breath you carry, I am whispering to you, you are ready. My beloved child, there have been countless souls who stood very near the doorway of their destiny, only to turn away because they believed they were not yet ready enough. They waited for one more sign, one more guarantee, one more better version of themselves before daring to move. But my child, many times the greatest delay does not come from outward circumstances. It comes from the quiet voice within that keeps repeating, I am still lacking. And that voice has kept many people forever in preparation, never entering the harvest I had prepared for them. But you are no longer who you once were. You are not the same person from your earliest days. You have walked through roads you once believed you could never survive. You have endured long nights when your soul could only cling to me in silence. You have learned how to rise again after disappointment, how to continue loving after being wounded, how to hold on to faith even when nothing around you seemed to change. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore you and make you strong, firm and steadfast. 1 Peter 5:10. Do you see? My child, those years were not meaningless. They were the hidden place where I was preparing your spirit for this very moment. There are things you call weaknesses, but I call them spaces where my power may be revealed. If everything within you were perfect according to the world's standards, you would easily forget where true strength comes from. So I allow you to walk with limitations that continually teach you to depend upon me. My grace is sufficient for you, 2 Corinthians 12:9. It is precisely when you tremble, yet still move forward. When you feel weak, yet still believe. When you cannot yet see the whole road, yet continue walking, that is when miracles begin to move. Miracles are not always born from perfection. Often they are born in the middle of imperfection, surrendered into my hands through trust. My beloved child, do not think that sacred moments always arrive with dramatic signs. When I came to Elijah, I was not in the mighty wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in a still small voice, 1 Kings 19:12. In the same way, the greatest turning points of the soul often arrive quietly. They are like dawn, slipping into a dark room without making a sound. Yet eventually, every shadow must give way. What I am doing within you now is the same. The world may not yet see the change, but your soul has already begun to awaken. Something within you no longer accepts living small as before. Something is urging you to rise from the place of delay and step into where I am calling you. Therefore, do not return to the shadow of doubt again. You have lived long enough inside the room called someday, but I did not create you for a future that is endlessly postponed. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. There are doors that only open through the obedience of the present moment, and the moment you have been waiting for is no longer somewhere far ahead. It is touching you right now. My beloved child, deep within your soul, you have known for a long time that you were called for something greater than your own fears. There is a declaration growing within your heart now, no longer a weak plea, but the voice of a soul beginning to recognize its true identity. It is the moment when you stop saying, "Can I really do this?" and begin saying, "I was created for this," not with arrogance, but with agreement with what heaven has already spoken over you. And when you dare to agree with that calling, you will feel a new strength flowing within you, not your own strength, but the confirmation of my spirit that you are walking in the right direction. Remember Joshua when he stood before the Jordan River after the death of Moses. He was not given a perfect blueprint for everything ahead. What he received was this word: "Be strong and courageous," Joshua 1-9. And the waters only parted when the feet of the priests stepped into the river. Do you see? My child, many miracles do not happen before the step of faith. They happen after you dare to move. I am waiting for the movement of obedience within you in order to open what comes next. And then you will realize that the negative words that once haunted you no longer hold the same power over you. The eyes that once made you shrink back will no longer determine who you are. When your soul truly awakens in me, the voices of the world begin to grow quieter, not because everyone around you has changed, but because you have finally begun to hear my voice more clearly than all the others. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. A soul that knows it belongs to me will no longer remain chained by the fear of rejection. My beloved child, you are no longer standing on the sidelines of your own life. You are no longer living like someone endlessly waiting for a sign from heaven. I am calling you to become that sign. When you walk in the light I have placed within you, others will begin to see hope. When you dare to live faithfully according to your calling, sleeping souls will begin to awaken. And this does not begin on a grand stage or in a glorious moment according to the world's standards. It begins with one simple yet powerful decision: never returning to your old self again. So rise up, my beloved child. Do not bow before the limitations that once imprisoned you any longer. A new horizon is opening before your soul. What I promised you is no longer a distant echo. It is beginning to become reality in every step you take today. And when you cross this threshold, you will discover that the sacred is not merely around you, it is alive within you, leading you into the new chapter I prepared before the foundation of the world. My beloved child, I know there were days when you looked around and felt far too small in this world. You saw others walking in radiant light, being heard, being celebrated, while you felt like a whisper lost in the middle of a noisy crowd. There were moments when you wondered whether your quiet existence truly carried any meaning at all. But, my child, heaven does not measure the value of a soul by the volume of applause. I have never been captivated by the glittering things the world praises. What I seek is a heart that remains faithful, even when no one is watching. It is often in the quietest places that I do my deepest work. A seed does not sprout amid the noise of a stage. It grows in hidden, dark soil. Your soul is the same. There are seasons when I lead you into silence, not because I have forgotten you, but because I am allowing the roots of your faith to grow deeper into me. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Psalm 23:2. I know the world has taught you to believe you must constantly prove yourself, constantly stand out in order to matter. But I am teaching you something different. True strength is not always loud. There are mountains that stand firm for thousands of years without ever needing to speak of their strength. My beloved child, I see the things no one else sees. I see every moment you sit alone with a weary heart, yet still choose not to close yourself off. I see the nights when tears soaked your pillow and no one knew. I see the moments when you wanted to give up, yet quietly chose to continue one more day. And I tell you this, none of those things are small in my sight. Your Father, who sees in secret, Matthew 6:6. Some of the greatest victories never happen before crowds. They happen in hidden rooms where a soul decides to keep believing even while everything around them remains dark. True faith is not born during easy days. It is formed in the middle of unanswered questions, just as gold must pass through fire before its purity is revealed. Faith is refined in seasons when you do not understand what I am doing. Some people think faith is a constant feeling of strength, but you have learned that faith is often nothing more than a faint whisper in the middle of a long night. I am still here. And that whisper is far more precious than loud declarations born only from comfort. The righteous shall live by faith, Hebrews 10:38. Not by what the eyes can clearly see, but by holding on to me even before the dawn appears. Remember the woman who touched the edge of my garment in the midst of the crowd. Many people pressed around me that day, yet only one touch came from true faith. She had no status, no strength, and had carried pain and rejection for many years. But even in the noisy crowd, I recognized the quiet cry of her soul. Daughter, your faith has healed you, Mark 5:34. Do you see? My child, I do not overlook quiet souls. I hear even the cries that have not yet become words, and I feel the prayers that lips have not yet spoken. My beloved child, the world often teaches you that value comes from visible results, but I look much deeper than that. I look at your perseverance when there is no immediate reward. I look at your faithfulness during days when no one acknowledges you. I look at the way you still choose love after being wounded, still choose gentleness in a world growing colder each day. That is the beauty heaven recognizes instantly. There are times when you think you are walking alone through the darkness, but in those very nights, I am nearer to you than ever. When Jacob slept on the cold ground with a stone for his pillow, he thought he was only a lonely wanderer. But then he woke and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place." And I was not aware of it. Genesis 28:16. So it is with you. There are places you thought contained only pain, but later you will realize they were the very places where I met you most deeply. Do not underestimate your quiet prayers anymore. They may not be spoken with beautiful words, but I hear even the sighs of your soul. The Spirit intercedes for us with groans that words cannot express. Romans 8:26. When you kneel in weakness and still turn your heart toward me, heaven sees that as strength, not failure. And many times, the place where you think you are weakest is the very place where I am working most powerfully. My beloved child, do not fear the quietness of your life. Not every flame is created to burn before the eyes of the crowd. Some flames are kept in hidden places to warm souls that have grown cold. Some people are not called to make a loud noise, but to become a presence of peace in the middle of a chaotic world. And you are learning to become such a person. The day will come when you look back and understand that the dark seasons were never useless. It was there that I built within you a faith no longer dependent on circumstances, a peace no longer reliant on everything being perfect, and a love not easily extinguished by disappointment. And then you will realize that the greatest gift I ever gave you was not a life without pain, but a soul that learned how to remain with me through every storm. My beloved child, I know there are times when you wait for something great to confirm that I am working in your life. You long for a door to swing open dramatically, for a radiant miracle that makes every doubt vanish at once. But many times, I do not choose to come to you through thunder. I love to enter your life like the gentle breeze of early morning, like dawn slipping through the crack of a door, like a sudden peace your soul recognizes before your mind can explain it. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a still small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. For I want you to learn to recognize my presence not only in extraordinary things, but also in the most ordinary moments. Look back at the days you once thought were merely accidental. An unexpected meeting brought you exactly the words you needed to hear. A verse of scripture appeared at the very moment your heart was troubled. One morning you woke and felt a clarity within you that had not been there the night before. You thought those were only small passing things, but many times, that is how I was guiding you. I do not always write answers across the sky. Often, I plant them within the rhythm of daily life to teach your eyes to see beyond the surface. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Matthew 11:15. A soul awakened within will recognize that heaven often speaks in whispers rather than shouts. My beloved child, I am teaching you the rhythm of grace. The world is accustomed to living either in haste or delay, either rushing ahead before the time has come, or standing still forever out of fear. But my way is not found in either extreme. I do not drive you forward with anxiety, nor do I allow you to sleep in stagnation. I lead you in the right rhythm. The vision awaits its appointed time, though it delays. Wait for it. It will surely come. Habakkuk 2:3. There are seasons when I teach you patience, like a sower waiting for rain. And there are also seasons when I call you to rise immediately, because the time has come. The wisdom of the soul is not found in running faster than others, but in knowing when to step forward and when to wait in peace. Do not think the signs I give are meant to replace your faith. No, my beloved child, the signs are only the wind that strengthens the flame already burning within you. True faith still requires you to walk before you see the entire road. When Peter stepped out of the boat, the sea did not immediately become calm, but in that first step, he learned that my hand was strong enough to hold him in the middle of the waves. And so it is with you. There are things you will never fully understand while standing still on the shore. Only when you step forward in trust will the light open the next stretch of the road before you. So when I place a gentle stirring within your heart, do not merely store it in your thoughts and allow time to cool it. Respond with one small act of love. Perhaps it is an apology you have delayed for too long. Perhaps it is a phone call you have avoided because you fear being hurt. Perhaps it is the beginning of something good I planted in your heart many years ago. Faith without works is dead. James 2:17. Not because I want you to prove yourself, but because faith truly becomes alive when it is placed into concrete steps. Remember Naaman, the powerful commander who suffered from leprosy. He expected a grand miracle, a mysterious ritual, but I healed him through something very simple: washing 7 times in the Jordan River. At first, he was disappointed because it all seemed too ordinary, but it was through that simple obedience that the miracle happened. Do you see? My child, great doors are sometimes opened by small but sincere actions. I often hide great things within humble things, so that your soul may remain close to tenderness and gratitude. My beloved child, do not wait until you have the whole picture before you begin to walk. A builder does not raise an entire house in one day. He lays one brick at a time. And this is how I lead you as well. One step of obedience today will open the next step tomorrow. When the people of Israel walked through the wilderness, I did not give them food for the whole year. I gave them manna sufficient for each day, for I wanted them to learn how to depend on me continually. So it is with you. I do not require you to understand the entire future. I only invite you to be faithful with what I am placing before you today. Then you will realize something wondrous. The more you walk with me, the more peace your heart will carry. Not because every trial disappears, but because you begin to feel the current of grace upholding you. There is a kind of hope that is not loud, yet is very powerful. It does not need to display itself in order to exist. It is like an underground river, quietly nourishing a dry field. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him. Romans 15:13. That is the kind of hope I am planting within you now, peaceful but not weak, gentle but not easily shaken. My beloved child, the good I have prepared for you does not come through force or chaos. It carries clarity, tenderness, and new life. When a door truly comes from me, your heart will not be suffocated by constant fear, but lifted by a deep peace. And even when you still tremble, your soul will know that you are walking in the right direction. So, move forward gently. Do not exhaust yourself by trying to see too far ahead. Be faithful to the small calling of today. Let gratitude open your eyes to the simple miracles around you. And as you continue walking in this rhythm of grace, you will discover that what you are seeking is no longer very far away. It has been near you. It has been near you for a long time, like dawn, quietly approaching, even when the night seems as though it will never end. My beloved child, some of the most precious things in your spiritual life are not formed before the eyes of the crowd, but in hidden places where only you and I are present. The world often values what can be seen, praised, and recognized with applause, but heaven bends very close to the quiet moments no one knows about except me. It is there, when you no longer depend on human recognition, that your soul begins to learn how to root itself deeply in me. Your Father, who sees in secret, will reward you. Matthew 6:6. Not one quiet act of love from you is forgotten before me. I see the times when you do what is right, even though no one notices. I see when you choose to keep kindness within your heart, even while you yourself are weary. I see the intercessions you lift up for others that they may never know about. There are days when you think your life is too quiet, too small to create anything meaningful. But my child, a great forest always begins with seeds buried deep in dark soil. The seasons no one sees are often the very places where your faith is formed most firmly. He shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, whose leaf does not wither. Psalm 1:3. A tree can stand strong in the storm not because of the branches and leaves displayed outwardly, but because of the roots that have been quietly growing deep for a long time. There are souls who only know how to praise me when everything is favorable. But I have seen you try to hold on to thanksgiving even in the days when no answer has come. That is very precious to me. When Paul and Silas were chained in the prison, they still lifted their voices in prayer and praise at midnight, and in the very place that seemed filled only with disappointment, the earth shook and the chains were broken. About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. Acts 16:25. Do you see? My child, there is a sacred strength born when a soul still chooses to trust while circumstances remain unchanged. That is not the denial of pain. It is the declaration that I am still good even when you do not yet understand all my ways. My beloved child, not one of your tears has fallen in vain. The world may see tears as a sign of weakness, but I see them as rain watering the soil of the soul. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:5. There are prayers you whispered in the darkness that seemed to disappear into silence, yet they are being kept before my throne like a precious fragrance. I remember every time you called upon my name in exhaustion, every sigh you hid behind an ordinary smile in front of others. Remember Hannah in the temple. She prayed for many years with a grieving soul and eyes full of tears. Others looked at her without understanding what was happening deep within her heart. But I understood, and from those quiet prayers, Samuel was born a prophet who would change the destiny of an entire nation. Do you see? My child, what is born in hidden places often carries the greatest power. I am doing the same with your life. Perhaps today, you cannot yet see the results, but every faithful prayer is quietly building the pathway for the good things I have prepared. Do not lose heart when everything seems to move too slowly. A farmer who plants seeds does not dig up the ground every day to check whether life has begun to grow. He continues watering and continues waiting with quiet hope. So it is with you. I am teaching you a faithfulness that does not depend upon immediate results. There are miracles growing in darkness before they appear in the light. And many times, what I am doing within your heart is even more important than the outward things you are asking me to change. My beloved child, I want you to learn how to remember my faithfulness. For the human heart easily forgets past deliverance when new anxieties arise. The people of Israel saw the Red Sea part before them. Yet not long afterward, they became fearful again in the wilderness. That is why I want you to keep track of my footprints throughout your journey. Learn to write down the small things I have done for you: a quiet rescue, a timely encounter, a closed door that protected you from harm, an unexpected joy in the middle of an ordinary day. When you look back, you will realize that I was there all along. Perhaps today you cannot yet see the whole picture, but the day will come when those small memories become evidence that I never abandoned you. They will remind your soul that the one who led you through yesterday will continue leading you tomorrow. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. True peace does not come from knowing the entire future, but from remembering that I have always been faithful in the past. My beloved child, I am not only preparing blessings for you, I am also preparing your heart to receive those blessings with maturity and gratitude. Therefore, do not despise these quiet days. Do not think the small things you do in love are meaningless. Every faithful act is a seed, and I, the one who sees in secret, will care for those seeds until the day the full harvest arrives. Then you will realize that the moments no one witnessed were actually some of the holiest places in your journey. My beloved child, many times you think great things only begin with dramatic movements, powerful moments, or decisions that make the whole world take notice. But I tell you this, most of the miracles I perform begin through small acts that others easily overlook. A seed hidden beneath the earth makes no sound when it begins to sprout. Yet from that quiet beginning, an entire forest can grow. Faith is the same. It does not always appear like a blazing fire. Many times it is like a small lamp that continues burning through the night wind. And I deeply love those small yet steadfast lights within you. I see every time you choose to walk in love, even while your heart is weary. I see when you decide to send words of reconciliation instead of continuing to keep your distance. I see the moments when you quietly pray for someone else, even while you yourself are in need of strength. Do not underestimate those things. Whoever is faithful in very little will also be faithful in much. Luke 16:10. Heaven does not only celebrate what many people can see, heaven also rejoices over every good seed planted in humility. My beloved child, there are doors that do not open through force or pressure, but through gentle obedience, repeated day after day. When you choose to learn what is necessary for the calling I have placed within you, when you change a habit in order to keep your mind more peaceful, when you reorder your life to prioritize what truly matters, you are telling me that your heart is willing to follow my leading. And I always respond to a heart that knows how to obey. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. Isaiah 1:19. There are blessings waiting only for one small step from you before they begin to move. Remember the boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish. What he carried seemed far too small for the needs of the crowd. Yet he placed what he had into my hands. And it was through that small willingness that the miracle of feeding thousands began. Do you see? My child, I do not require you to begin with perfect abundance. I simply ask, are you willing to place what you have today into my hands? When you surrender those small things to me with trust, I will cause them to become far greater than you could imagine. My beloved child, I want to teach you a rhythm of life that is not heavy, but full of life. Do not turn faith into a burden that exhausts your soul. I did not call you to run under constant pressure. I invite you to walk within the rhythm of grace. Each morning, when you awaken, let the first words of your heart be blessing instead of anxiety. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118:24. When you begin the day with gratitude, your soul opens itself for my peace to flow in. Then, throughout the day, amid busyness and the noise of the world, learn how to return to me through short but sincere prayers, not long speeches meant to impress, but simple cries from the heart. Nehemiah prayed only briefly before standing before the king. Yet that quiet prayer opened the way for the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And so it is with you. A single moment when you pause to turn your heart toward me can change the entire atmosphere of your day. And then, let love become something tangible. A word of encouragement for someone who is discouraged. A shared meal for someone in need. Speaking well of someone who is absent instead of joining in judgment. Let us not grow weary in doing good. Galatians 6-9. You may not realize it, but many times one small act from you becomes proof to another soul that I am still present in this world. When you live within this rhythm, praying, giving thanks, loving, and remaining faithful in small things, you will begin to feel a gentle strength sustaining you. Not a stressful pressure, but a current of peace that lets you know you are walking in the right direction. Just as a boat moving with the wind no longer needs to strain against every wave, your soul too will begin to move more lightly when it aligns itself with my rhythm. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Matthew 11:30. The road I lead you on does not destroy your soul through pressure. It restores you through grace. My beloved child, faith and acts of love cannot be separated. True faith always gives birth to action, and acts of love cause faith to grow even stronger. It is the flow between heaven and earth, between my hand and your obedience. When you walk in goodness, your heart will begin to recognize my presence more clearly. And as you feel my presence more deeply, you will desire even more to continue living in love. And the day will come when you look back and realize that the greatest transformations in your life did not begin with one dramatic moment, but with many small choices filled with faithfulness. A prayer that refused to give up, an act of love that did not need recognition, a decision to continue trusting even without seeing the results yet. Those were the very things quietly opening doors that only faith possesses the key to enter. Therefore, do not despise the small steps of today. Do not think you must accomplish something grand immediately in order for your life to matter. Simply continue planting seeds of kindness, faith, gratitude, and obedience. I am the one who tends that garden, and in the right season, you will see the quiet seeds of today become a harvest, overflowing with blessing tomorrow. My beloved child, many times you believe that, in order to step into what I have prepared for you, you must first make yourself perfect. You try to fix every weakness, force yourself to become stronger, and run faster so that you may finally feel worthy. But I want you to understand that true maturity of the soul does not come from pulling yourself upward by your own strength. It begins when you learn how to let me work within you. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. There are changes that cannot be produced through pressure. They are born through gentle surrender. Your soul is like a garden that I deeply cherish. You cannot force a seed to bloom simply by standing beside it and worrying every day. What you must do is tend the soil, pull out the weeds of bitterness, keep your heart soft through gratitude, and open yourself to the light of my word. Then the life I have placed within you will grow in its proper season. He shall be like a tree planted by streams of water. Psalm 1:3. A tree does not grow through anxious striving. It grows because it remains in the environment that nourishes life. So do not underestimate the small things you do each day. The quiet moments of prayer in the early morning, the times you open scripture even while your mind feels weary, the moments when you choose gratitude instead of complaint. All these things are like water poured into your soul. Perhaps today you do not yet see much change within yourself. But day by day, I am causing your roots to grow deeper, and a tree with deep roots will stand firm when strong winds arrive. My beloved child, perseverance in hidden places is very precious to me. The world usually notices only the front of a house, but I look at the foundation. No one applauds the foundation because it lies buried beneath the earth. Yet it is the foundation that determines whether the house will stand through storms. In the same way, the days when you remain faithful in small things, the seasons when you continue walking uprightly, though no one is watching, are the very moments when I am building the foundation for something greater. Whoever is faithful in very little will also be faithful in much. Luke 16:10. I do not prepare you for great doors by allowing you to neglect the small responsibilities of today. Remember Joseph in the house of Potiphar. Before he was placed over the land of Egypt, I saw how faithfully he lived when no one knew his name. Before he wore the garments of a ruler, he learned how to keep his heart upright in prison and in hidden places. And it was that quiet faithfulness that prepared him for the greater moment to come. So it is with you. I see the things no one else sees. I see when you choose honesty instead of compromise. I see when you continue to keep a gentle spirit within a cold environment. I see when you refuse to let the darkness of others extinguish the light within you. My beloved child, part of maturity is learning not to run according to the rhythm of the crowd. There are times when you look at others advancing quickly and wonder why your own life seems slower. But my child, the one who runs in the wrong direction only moves farther away from where they truly need to be. The plan I have for you is not a copy of another person's journey. For I know the plans I have for you, plans of peace. Jeremiah 29:11. What I open for you carries its own timing, its own rhythm, and its own path. If you continually look at someone else's road, you will miss the door I am opening right in front of you. I want you to learn the peace of one who knows when to pause and when to move forward. There are seasons when I ask you to rest in order to heal. There are seasons when I urge you to rise and take action. And inner readiness allows you to recognize my voice amid the endless noise of the world. A truly mature soul is not dragged along by every trend or every surrounding pressure. It knows how to anchor itself in my guidance. My beloved child, I am also preparing encounters specifically for you. There are people who will enter your life at the right moment to open a new chapter. There are doors I have already appointed beforehand. But I am not only preparing circumstances, I am also preparing your heart so that you may enter those places without being ruled by fear. For many times, the reason you miss an opportunity is not because the opportunity never appeared, but because your mind had not yet believed that you were truly capable of stepping into the good things I prepared for you. Remember Esther. Before she entered the king's palace, she went through a long season of preparation in hidden places. It was not only preparation of outward beauty, but preparation of the soul for a destined moment. And when her hour arrived, she did not walk forward in panic, but with a deep peace that I had already gone before her. So it will be with you. When I have strengthened what is within you, you will no longer be overwhelmed with fear before new things. You will feel peace walking beside you, and that peace will be the sign that you are stepping into the place I have appointed. Do not force yourself to mature too quickly anymore. My beloved child, a flower does not bloom more beautifully because it is pulled open from its bud. Allow me to lead you through the process of grace. Your task is not to transform yourself into perfection. Your task is to remain close to me, Keep your heart soft. Stay faithful in small things, and open yourself daily to my light. The rest I will do. And the day will come when you look back and realize that true readiness was never the moment you no longer felt weak. It was the moment you trusted me enough to move forward, even while still trembling. And within that step, you will discover that I had been preparing you for a very long time, gently, patiently, and with great love for the very moment you are approaching now. My beloved child, the healing I have for you was never meant only to soothe the wounds within your heart. I do not merely patch what has been broken so that you may survive for a little while longer. What I do is always deeper and greater than that. I restore you completely from your soul and your thoughts to your relationships, and even the practical foundations you need in order to continue your journey. I came that they may have life, and have it abundantly. John 10:10. I do not want you merely to survive your pain. I want you to step into a life rebuilt through peace, wisdom, and steadfastness. There are doors that once closed and caused you great pain. But my child, not every loss is a form of deprivation. Sometimes I close a door because beyond it there is no longer a future meant for you. And when I bring new people, new opportunities, or new directions into your life, they are not temporary replacements. They are restoration. I know there were relationships that caused you to question your worth. Relationships that exhausted you because you were trying so hard to hold on to something unhealthy. But I did not create you to live forever in places that make your soul wither. I will give you a new heart, Ezekiel 36:26. And along with that new heart, I also lead you into connections that bring life instead of depletion. Remember Naomi. There was a time when she believed her life had become nothing more than ashes after sorrow and bitterness. She returned to her homeland with empty hands and a weary soul. But I did not allow her story to end in grief. I used Ruth, and I used ordinary-looking encounters to rewrite the future of that family. Out of loss, I opened a lineage that would lead to the Savior himself. Do you see? My child, when I restore, I do not merely return what was lost. Often I create something even more beautiful from the very place that was once broken. My beloved child, there are times when you expect abundance to arrive in the exact form you imagined beforehand. You think that if I love you, I will immediately give you great wealth, success, or extraordinary opportunities. But many times, the greatest gift I first give you is the wisdom to steward what you already have. For if the soul is not yet mature, even abundance can become a burden. Wisdom is better than gold and silver, Proverbs 16:16. Sometimes I do not immediately open the great door you ask for, but instead I send the right guide at the right moment. Sometimes I do not instantly change your circumstances, but I change your perspective so you may recognize that what is truly precious has been in your hands all along. Do not think that my restoration simply brings you back to your former condition. No, my beloved child, I do not merely repair, I renew. When a field is restored after a drought, it does not merely become able to survive again, it begins to flourish and bear fruit once more. That is what I desire for your life as well. I want your soul to become so healthy that it can strengthen others. I want the peace I plant within you to become a refuge for the weary souls around you. For when true healing takes root, it always begins to overflow outward. A person who has been comforted learns how to comfort others. A person who has been forgiven becomes more willing to forgive. A person who has been lifted up cannot remain indifferent to those who are falling. He comforts us so that we may also comfort others. 2 Corinthians 1-4. This is the flow of the kingdom of heaven. What I pour into you is not meant to remain hidden, but to continue spreading as life for others. My beloved child, abundance in my eyes is not merely having much. Abundance is having a heart that remains open. There are people who possess many things, yet their souls remain impoverished because they live in fear of losing them. And there are others who may not have much by the world's standards, yet they always have something to give: a word of encouragement, a meal, an opportunity, a listening ear, a sincere prayer. And every time you give from a heart of love, your soul expands even more. Give, and it will be given to you. Luke 6:38. This is not merely a principle about material things. It is the law of a heart living in grace. Look at the widow of Zarephath. She had only a handful of flour and a little oil remaining. Yet when she offered that small portion in faith, I caused the jar of oil not to run dry and the flour not to run out. Do you see? My child, true abundance does not always begin with having plenty. It begins with trusting that I am your source. And when you live with that understanding, you will discover that generosity does not impoverish your life. It opens the way for life to continue flowing through you. My beloved child, I am teaching you to see your life as part of a greater picture. There are things I have given you not only for your own benefit, but to touch many other lives as well. The skills you have learned, the experiences you have walked through, the relationships I have brought into your life, even the difficult seasons you have survived, all of these can become blessings for others when placed into my hands. Nothing in your life is meaningless when surrendered to my purpose. Therefore, do not fear when I begin to enlarge your life. Do not think you are not enough to step into the abundance I have prepared for you. I do not wait until you are perfect before blessing you. I teach you maturity in the very process of receiving and giving. And the day will come when you realize that the most beautiful thing is not only that you yourself were restored, but that your life became living proof that my grace can transform land that was once barren into a garden overflowing with life. My beloved child, do not underestimate your story. Perhaps you once believed those years filled with tears were simply painful seasons to forget as quickly as possible. But I tell you this, the very place where you were once broken is becoming living proof that my love never abandons a soul. Every time you speak honestly and humbly about the journey you have walked through, you are planting hope within others. There are people in despair who will look at your life and see evidence that they too can rise again. There are souls who believed they had been forgotten who will rediscover light when they hear that I lifted you from your darkest place. Come and hear, all you who fear God, and I will tell what He has done for my soul. Psalm 66:16. Not to exalt yourself, but to exalt my faithfulness. But my beloved child, I do not want you to remain standing still, only looking back at the past. I'm calling you to move forward with the new wisdom born from everything you have walked through. There are lessons that, if ignored, will cause your soul to stumble in the same place again and again. And there are truths that, if you hold on to them, will become the foundation that keeps your life standing firm through every storm. The wise man built his house upon the rock, Matthew 7:24. That rock is not human perfection. It is obedience to truth, even when the right path is not the easiest one. The world offers many roads that appear attractive on the surface. There are paths filled with laughter, glamour, and temporary comfort. But not every easy road leads to life. There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. Proverbs 14:12. I know there are times when you are tempted to follow what is faster, easier, or more widely celebrated, but if a path slowly pulls your soul away from peace and truth, then no matter how beautiful it appears, it will eventually leave emptiness behind. My beloved child, true discernment does not come from knowing more than others, but from learning how to return daily to my living source. When you open your heart to the guidance of my word, your soul begins to recognize the difference between the voice of life and the call that leads only to weariness. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119, 105. I do not promise to show you your entire future all at once, but I do promise enough light for each step if you continue to remain close to me. What I truly desire from you is not a perfect religious appearance, but a heart kept soft and pure. There are people who outwardly follow every rule, yet inwardly their hearts are filled with bitterness, judgment, and resentment. But I look deeper than appearances. I know that even a small seed of bitterness, if allowed to take root for too long, can weigh down your soul and steal the freedom I desire to give you. Guard your heart above all else, for it is the source of life. Proverbs 4:23. My beloved child, I know there are people who truly wounded you. I know there were words, betrayals, and injustices that made your heart want to close itself in self-protection. But if you continue carrying the stones of resentment, you will never walk lightly into the future I have prepared for you. Forgiveness does not mean calling what was wrong right. Forgiveness means placing judgment back into my hands, so your soul is no longer chained to the past. Let all bitterness be put away from you. Ephesians 4:31. You were not created to live with a heart poisoned by hatred. You were created to live in the freedom of love. Remember Joseph. After everything his brothers had done to him, the betrayal, selling him into slavery, stealing his youth from him, Joseph was still able to embrace them and say, God meant it for good. Genesis 50-20. That did not happen because he had never felt pain. It happened because he allowed me to heal his heart instead of allowing bitterness to rule him. And that healing became the very thing that enabled him to save many lives during the famine. My beloved child, do not fear the times you have fallen. I do not define you by your failures. A righteous person is not someone who has never fallen, but someone who continues to rise again and return to truth after every stumble. Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. Proverbs 24-16. What is precious in my sight is not flawless perfection, but a soul that still chooses to walk with me even after being wounded, after wandering, after feeling weak. Every time you choose what is right instead of what is easy, you are placing another stone into the foundation of your future. Every time you speak truth when you could have hidden it, every time you keep kindness within your heart when you have reason to become bitter, every time you remain faithful even without immediate results, you are building a life that cannot easily be shaken. Others may never notice those small decisions, but heaven sees every single one clearly. And the day will come when you look back and understand that the trials were never sent to destroy you. They came to open a deeper chapter within your life. Just as gold must pass through fire before its true beauty is revealed, your soul too is being refined through every season. And as you continue walking in truth, guarding your heart from bitterness, and holding tightly to my light, you will discover that no storm can destroy a foundation built upon faith, humility, and love. My beloved child, I know there are days when your soul grows weary because you have tried for too long. There are evenings when you still smile before others. Yet once you are alone, your heart feels as though it carries the weight of the entire sky upon its shoulders. I see the moments when you try to appear strong, even while your spirit is exhausted within. But my child, I never intended for you to live like a warrior forced to carry everything alone. I did not create you to strain yourself into weariness. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. I am not only the one who guides you, I am also the place where you may stop and rest without needing to prove anything anymore. When you feel you no longer have strength to continue, remember that a river does not fill itself. It is sustained by a deeper source. Your soul is the same. If you try to live only by your own strength, you will eventually run dry. But when you return to me, I will renew the deepest parts within you. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3. There are restorations that sleep and time alone cannot bring. They come only when you allow my presence to touch the most wounded places within your heart. My beloved child, do not fear laying down burdens you were never created to carry forever. There are worries you have held for so long that you have begun to believe they are part of who you are. But I never asked you to hold every answer by yourself. I never required you to know the entire future in order to live in peace. Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. When you place your burdens into my hands, it does not mean you are giving up. It is a sign that you trust I am greater than your fears. Remember Elijah, after his long season of exhausting battles. He collapsed beneath the broom tree and wanted to give up everything. But I did not rebuke his weakness. I gave him rest. I gave him food. I cared for his soul before speaking again about the journey ahead. Do you see? My child, I do not see your weariness as failure. I understand your limits more deeply than you understand them yourself. And many times, what your soul needs most is not to force itself to run faster, but to pause long enough to hear again the peaceful heartbeat of my presence. My beloved child, there are steps you think are taking you backward, yet I am still using them to move you forward. When Joseph was sold into Egypt, everything appeared to be a complete collapse. Yet I used that very painful road to lead him into the place I had appointed. When the people of Israel stood before the Red Sea, they believed they were trapped between the wilderness and their enemies. But I opened a path exactly where they thought the story had ended. So it is with you. There are roads today you do not yet understand. But I see the entire picture while you can only see a few scattered pieces. Therefore, do not rush to make conclusions about your life while the story is still being written. A painter does not abandon a canvas simply because the first strokes still appear chaotic. And I, the one who began a good work within you, will not leave it unfinished halfway through. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Philippians 1-6. Even in seasons when you feel slow, weak, or lost, I am quietly placing every piece exactly where it belongs. My beloved child, every time you choose to remain close to me, even through a brief prayer in the middle of a long day, you are opening your heart for me to continue shaping your life. Perhaps you do not recognize it immediately, but every one of those moments is changing you from within. Just as water patiently smooths hard stone over time, my presence is softening the places within your heart that once became hardened, and eventually, you will realize that you no longer react as you once did, no longer fear as you once did, no longer fall into despair as easily as before. Those are the signs that I am working within you. Let the past become a teacher, not a prison. Do not continue carrying the things I have already called you to leave behind. Old wounds may teach you wisdom, but they do not have the authority to determine your future. Behold, I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth. Isaiah 43-19. I am opening before you a new chapter, no longer written by old fears, but by the maturity you have gained through every painful season. My beloved child, the present moment is where I invite you to live fully. Do not allow your mind to be constantly pulled back into yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties. I am here, in this very moment, holding your hand step by step. And your future does not rest in random chaos. It rests in the hands of the one who loves you more deeply than you can imagine. So continue walking with gentle trust. There is no need to rush, no need to strain yourself. Simply remain close to me. Listen for my voice, and stay faithful to the step before you today. Then you will see that the next chapter of your life will no longer be written by fear, but by peace, wisdom, and the quiet strength that comes from me. And when you look back one day, you will understand that even in the seasons that felt most lost, I was still quietly leading you toward the light. My beloved child, There are seasons in life when everything seems to slow down. The doors you long to see opened remain closed. The prayers you have spoken seem unanswered, and your soul begins to wonder whether you have somehow been left behind. But I want you to understand this. Within my plan, slowing down does not mean being forgotten. Some pauses are not meant to stop you, but to keep you from stepping into something before the right time. There is a season for everything. Ecclesiastes 3:1. I am never late, and I never act too soon. Everything I do carries the precision of love and eternal wisdom. Think of a builder constructing a great house. There are days when, from the outside, the work seems to show no progress at all. No roof, no towering walls, no beauty that causes others to marvel. Yet deep beneath the ground, the foundation is being dug and strengthened. And it is precisely that unseen part which determines whether the house will stand through storms. Your soul is the same. There are seasons when I allow you to slow down in order to strengthen what is within, to deepen your faith, strengthen your patience, and soften your heart toward my guidance. The wise man built his house upon the rock, Matthew 7:24. I am building you upon rock, not upon temporary emotions. My beloved child, I know there are moments when you look at the lives of others and feel as though they are moving farther ahead than you. You see others seemingly reaching the very things you are still waiting for. But do not forget that every soul has its own journey, its own rhythm, and its own plan within my hands. A rose seed does not bloom at the same time as an olive tree, yet both are beautiful in their appointed season. If you continue forcing yourself to live according to someone else's timeline, you will lose your own peace. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Psalm 37:7. Waiting in me does not mean standing still in despair. It means trusting that I am still working, even when your eyes cannot yet see it. Remember David. After he was anointed king, he did not immediately ascend to the throne. He returned to the fields with his sheep, then walked through years of being hunted and misunderstood. Perhaps many times he wondered why the promise had not yet come to pass. But I was using that waiting season to form within him the heart of a true king. If David had received the throne too early, it could have destroyed him instead of completing him. And so it is with you. There are things I have not yet given you, not because I have rejected you, but because I love you enough to prepare you for what you are about to receive. My beloved child, the quiet seasons of your life are not empty. They are the places where I quietly write depth into your soul. There are lessons that can only be learned through waiting. There is beauty that only forms when you are no longer rushing. A deep river usually flows more gently than shallow water, and I am leading you into that depth, a place where your faith no longer depends on everything unfolding according to your desires, but becomes anchored in my faithfulness. I know there are days when you feel weak and vulnerable, but listen carefully to me. You were never meant to be strong alone. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. There are places within you where only after you admit your helplessness can my power truly reach deeply. I am not ashamed of your tears. I do not turn my face away when you are weary. On the contrary, I draw even nearer. My love is not a distant idea existing only in words. It is a true refuge for your soul. It is like a cloak wrapped around you during the coldest seasons of your life, when you think you are falling away from everything secure. That love is still holding you. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Jeremiah 31:3. That love does not change according to your emotions, nor does it leave when you are weak. It remains there both in the days when you feel strong and in the days when all you can do is sit silently and weep before me. My beloved child, not one trial you have ever walked through has been meaningless. I am weaving everything together like a patient craftsman, creating a great tapestry. From beneath, you can only see tangled threads, the painful days, the disappointments, the unanswered questions. But from where I stand, I see the entire picture, and I know how to use even the darkest threads to reveal the beauty of the finished work. All things work together for good, Romans 8:28. Even the very thing that wounded you most deeply can become part of something beautiful when placed into my hands. And the day will come when you look back and understand that the seasons of waiting protected you from many things you could not yet see. You will understand why I did not allow certain doors to open too soon. You will realize that the delay was not rejection, but loving preparation. And when you finally step into the new chapter I have prepared for you, you will not only carry what you once prayed for, but also a heart that has grown more mature, a soul that has become deeper, and a faith that can no longer be easily shaken. Therefore, keep walking, my beloved child. There is no need to rush. Do not fear the moments when you need to stop and rest. Allow me to continue leading you through every season, every step, and every silence. I am working in all things, both the things you understand and the things you do not yet understand. And when the appointed time comes, you will realize that not a single day of your journey was wasted, because every part of it was bringing you closer to the beauty I destined for your life from the very beginning. My beloved child, I often bring people together not by accident, but through invisible streams of grace prepared long beforehand. There are encounters that last only a single hour, yet change the direction of an entire season of life. There are simple words that become keys opening doors your soul has been knocking on for a very long time. And there are people I place along your path to encourage you, correct you, strengthen you, or help you see more clearly what I am doing. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Proverbs 16:9. When you understand this, you will begin to look at encounters with eyes that see deeper than the surface. But my beloved child, I do not want you to enter those connections with haste or pressure to produce immediate results. I want you to learn the rhythm of peace. There are conversations that do not require many words, only a heart that truly knows how to listen. When you listen with genuine presence and sincerity, you begin to touch the real needs hidden beneath what others are saying. Be quick to listen and slow to speak, James 1:19. Many people in this world speak constantly, yet rarely feel truly heard. That is why a soul that listens with love has already become a rare gift. I am also teaching you simplicity in your words. You do not need to use countless words to prove your worth. Truth often carries a quiet clarity and peace within it. When you speak what is essential with a pure heart, your words become like arrows, reaching exactly where they are meant to land. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. Proverbs 25:11. Do not try to control everything through long explanations. There are things I will continue doing within another person's heart long after the conversation has ended. And then, learn to take small but clear steps. I do not always reveal the entire road before you. Many times, I only give you enough light for the next step. When you offer a simple, gentle, and practical action, you help others avoid becoming overwhelmed by the weight of too many things at once. Remember how I led the people of Israel through the wilderness, one day at a time, one stage at a time, guided by the cloud and the pillar of fire. I did not require them to see the entire journey before they began to walk. My beloved child, after every encounter, return again to the peace within your soul. Peace is one of the ways I confirm your direction. Not everything that is right will be easy, but what comes from me usually carries a deep stillness rather than prolonged confusion and chaos. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, Colossians 3:15. If your heart still feels unsettled, do not rush to force a conclusion. Write down what you sense. Bring it before me in prayer, and allow time and my light to continue revealing things clearly. Not every seed sprouts in a single day. Remember Samuel as a child in the temple. At first, he did not recognize my voice calling him, but each time he responded, he learned to distinguish my voice more clearly from every other sound around him. And so it is with you. Your ability to recognize my leading does not grow through haste, but through closeness and patience. Every time you pause to pray, instead of reacting immediately, you are training your soul in spiritual sensitivity. My beloved child, there is something very important I want you to remember. I alone am the ultimate source of every good thing in your life. I may use people to help you, open doors for you, or support you, but never make them the place where your soul depends completely. Cursed is the one who trusts in man, Jeremiah 17:5 does not mean people are unimportant. It means no one, except me, can carry the deepest expectations of your soul. When you place a person in the position that belongs only to me, you will soon fall into disappointment or fear. I want you to learn how to be grateful for the people I send into your life while still keeping your heart free. When one door closes, you do not panic as though all hope has been lost. When another door opens, you also do not cling to it as though it were your final source of life. For you know that what comes from me will stand firm in its proper season. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Psalm 127:1. And if I truly open a door, no one can close it before the appointed time. My beloved child, true freedom comes when your heart knows how to value people without becoming dependent upon them. You can love without losing yourself. You can cooperate without being ruled by the fear of losing something. You can step into new opportunities while still keeping your soul humble and peaceful. This is how I want you to walk through life, gentle, yet not weak, soft-hearted, yet not easily shaken. Therefore, continue walking with a heart that remains open, yet firmly anchored in me. Let every encounter become an opportunity to love, listen, and sow life into others. But at the same time, always remember that the hand truly guiding your journey is not the hand of man, but my hand. And when you depend on me first, you will no longer fear the changes of circumstance. You will walk in the peace of one who knows they are being led by the one who sees the entire road from beginning to end. My beloved child, never think that the small things you do in love are meaningless. In this world, many souls are weary, not because they lack great things, but because they lack a little tenderness at the right moment. A word spoken with sincerity can touch the deepest wound in someone's heart, one they may have never even spoken aloud. A quiet act of kindness can become light for a person walking through the darkest day of their life. And a prayer you whisper in secret can strengthen a soul far away from you without your ever knowing it. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Matthew 5:13-14. I placed you in this world not merely to exist for yourself, but to let life flow outward through even the smallest things. My beloved child, every truly good thing has the power to spread. Just as a small stone dropped into a lake creates ripples that continue expanding far beyond the point where it first touched the water, your life is the same. Today you may think you are only sending a simple message of encouragement. Yet those words may become the reason someone chooses not to give up. You may only share a meal, an opportunity, or a small idea. But I can use that very thing to open a door of hope for an entire family. You cannot see all the waves created by your obedience, but I can. And not a single seed of love planted in faith will fail to bear fruit in its appointed season. Remember the boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish. What he offered seemed far too small for such a great crowd. Yet once it was placed in my hands, it became abundance for many. Do you see? I often use the simplest things to reveal the power of love. What matters is not the size of the gift, but the willingness of the heart to allow grace to flow through it. And the beautiful mystery is this: when you become a channel through which goodness flows, your own soul is refreshed as well. Whoever refreshes others will himself be refreshed. Proverbs 11:25. My beloved child, I want you to learn how to remember the small signs of my faithfulness in your life. Many people become so focused on what has not yet arrived that they forget what I am already doing each day. But I want your eyes to be open to even the smallest miracles, a confirmation arriving at the perfect moment, an unexpected door opening, a peace beyond explanation in the middle of chaos, an idea coming exactly when you needed it most. Do not let these things pass by as though they are ordinary. They are my footprints along your journey. Remember how the people of Israel were taught to build memorial stones after I brought them through the Jordan River. Those stones were not merely lifeless objects. They were reminders that I had been faithful before and would remain faithful again. And so it is with you. When you remember the times I have carried and sustained you, your soul will not be so easily swept away by fear when the next storm comes. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Psalm 103:2. Gratitude keeps your heart soft and your eyes clear enough to recognize my presence. My beloved child, true boldness is not a loud voice or a fearless appearance. The boldness I desire to form within you is the deep peace of someone who knows they are being led. It is like the quiet smile of a person who no longer needs to fight for position, because they know I have already appointed their portion. When you remain close to me long enough, faith will no longer feel like something you must force yourself to maintain. It will become the natural breath of your soul. You will begin responding with love instead of fear, with hope instead of despair, with gentleness instead of bitterness. Look at David standing before Goliath. He did not walk out with noisy arrogance, but with the quiet certainty that I was with him. That is the kind of boldness I want to place within you, not confidence built upon your own strength, but peace that comes from knowing whose hand is holding yours. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. When your heart is truly anchored in me, you will no longer feel the need to prove your worth through noise, competition, or comparison. My beloved child, as you continue living in covenant with me each day, acts of faith will gradually become beautiful and natural reflexes within you. You will no longer have to force yourself to love. Love will flow from a soul that has been touched by me. You will no longer strive to be good merely out of obligation. Kindness will become the fragrance of your life. And in time, even your presence alone will bring peace to others, sometimes without the need for many words at all. So continue sowing goodness, no matter how small it may seem. Continue praying. Continue encouraging. Continue giving with a simple and sincere heart. Do not worry too much about whether you will see all the results yourself. Your responsibility is to plant. Mine is to make it grow. One plants, another waters, but God gives the increase. 1 Corinthians 3:6. And I promise you this: not one seed of love planted in faith will fail to bring forth a harvest of life at the appointed time I have prepared. My beloved child, do not look at trials as an abyss swallowing your life. There are things that, while you are passing through them, seem to contain nothing but darkness and exhaustion. Yet from where I stand, I see a path being opened for your soul to become stronger and more mature. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. Hebrews 12:11. Strong winds do not come to uproot you if your roots remain planted in me. They come to drive those roots deeper into the source of eternal life. I know there were times when you thought you had lost your way. You looked around and could not understand why the road had become so rough. There were nights when you prayed and the answer seemed to be silence. There were days when you tried to keep moving forward while your heart felt heavy. as though carrying an entire gray sky within it. But my child, it is often in those very moments when you feel most directionless that I place the most important keys into your hands. When the people of Israel stood before the Red Sea, they saw only deep waters ahead and enemies behind them, yet exactly where they believed the story would end. I opened a path that had never existed before, and so it is with you. Some doors appear only after you are brave enough to keep walking through what you do not yet understand. Do not fear your tears anymore. My beloved child, I do not see them as signs of failure. Every tear you cry in faith is like rain falling upon soil, being prepared for a new season of blooming. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. Psalm 126:5. Some of the most beautiful things within your soul were not born during easy seasons, but during the times when you learned to cling to me while your heart was still trembling. And one day, the very place where you once hurt most deeply will become the place where light shines most powerfully. My beloved child, I do not send trials to break you. I allow difficult seasons because I know there are strengths within you that have not yet awakened. Gold does not discover its value until it passes through fire. An eagle does not learn how to soar high without facing opposing winds. And your soul will never fully discover the depth of faith unless it has walked through days where trusting me mattered more than trusting your feelings. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1:2-3. Not because pain itself is good, but because I am able to turn even pain into an instrument for your growth. Remember Job. There was a time when he lost nearly everything he loved and could not understand why darkness had fallen so heavily upon his life. Yet amid the ashes and unanswered questions, he came to know me more deeply than before. And in the end, he said, "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." Job 42:5. Do you see? My child, there are understandings of me that cannot be learned through theory alone. They are carved into the soul only through the journey of walking beside me in the middle of storms. My beloved child, every hardship you face today is like a stone I am placing down to build a bridge, carrying you toward a more mature shore. When you look too closely, you only see scattered stones, but I see the finished bridge. Perhaps today all you can feel is the weariness of each step. Yet the day will come when you realize that the rough road itself led you into the peace and wisdom you never could have reached through an easier path. Do not rush to ask me to remove every trial before it has completed its work within you. There are seasons when I do not immediately calm the storm, because I am teaching you to discover that I am still in the boat with you. When the disciples were terrified by the raging waves, I did not abandon them. And when the appointed moment came, I spoke, "Peace, be still." Mark 4, Trechenile. And so it is with you. I have never taken my eyes off you for even a single moment. Even when you cannot clearly feel my presence, my hand is still holding you from sinking beneath the waters. My beloved child, there is a kind of strength that can only be born through gentle perseverance. Not the strength of someone who has never fallen, but the strength of one who continues rising again after every fall. And that is the kind of strength I am forming within you. A steadiness that does not depend on circumstances. A peace that does not disappear when storms arise. A light that cannot be extinguished by the darkness surrounding it. And the day will come when you look back upon these seasons of testing with different eyes. You will no longer see only pain. You will see my hand leading you through every part of the journey. You will understand why I did not allow you to remain forever in familiar places. And you will realize that the very trials that once made you tremble became the doorway leading you into deeper life. Therefore, keep walking, my beloved child. Let every step you take in the middle of the storm become a song of faith lifted up to me. Let today's tears water the soil of the future I am preparing for you. For behind this door of testing is not destruction, but a new dawn where you will walk with deeper wisdom, greater love, and a stronger faith than ever before that I truly know what is best for your soul. My beloved child, I have placed far more precious things within you than you realize. There are times when you search for strength in distant places, believing you need something greater before you can climb the hills of life. But I want you to look deeply again at what I have already planted within your heart. The gentleness you once thought was weakness is actually the strength that keeps your soul from becoming hardened in a cold world. The quiet perseverance within you is what has helped you rise again after days when you thought you had no strength left. The spirit of serving others protects your soul from becoming trapped in barren selfishness. And your simple faith, even when it feels as small as a mustard seed, is still enough to keep you connected to heaven. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12-9. My beloved child, those words are not merely comfort. They are a key I have placed into your hands. The world constantly teaches you that you must become strong enough before you can continue. But I teach you that true strength begins to flow precisely when you learn to depend upon me. There are doors in life that do not open through strained effort, but through gentle trust. Remember Moses. He once believed he was unqualified because his speech was clumsy and his heart was filled with fear. Yet I did not choose him because he was perfect. I chose him because he finally placed his small staff into my hands. And that staff became the instrument that opened the sea and led my people through the impossible. And so it is with you. What I seek is not a person without weakness, but a soul willing to use what it already has in obedience. My beloved child, every good quality I have planted within you is like a key prepared for the doors ahead. Gentleness will open places that harshness can never enter. Gratitude will keep your heart bright during seasons of lack. Humility will protect you from pride when you are lifted higher. And generosity will make your life become a flowing river instead of stagnant water. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. What the world considers small, I often use to open the greatest things. When you begin using those keys, you will realize that trials are no longer merely walls standing in your way. They begin to become classrooms for your soul. Every hardship will teach you something more about my faithfulness. Every fall, followed by rising again, will make your steps steadier. And eventually, you will see that you are no longer simply someone trying to survive life, but someone learning to build life with wisdom and peace. The wise man built his house upon the rock. Matthew 7:24. That rock is living faith anchored in me. My beloved child, not one detail of your journey is unnecessary. Perhaps today you do not understand why you must walk through certain winding roads. But I am weaving everything together into a picture far greater than what your eyes can currently see. Just as a weaver uses even dark threads to reveal the beauty of the finished design, I am also using both painful seasons and joyful days to create depth within your soul. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. Even the things you most wish you could forget may become part of something beautiful once placed into my hands. I want you to learn how to open every door in your life with gratitude. A thankful heart is not easily swallowed by darkness. When you learn to give thanks even for small things, your soul begins to recognize my presence everywhere. And when you enter a new place with humility, you will no longer exhaust yourself trying to prove your worth. A person who truly knows they are loved by me does not need to compete for value with anyone else. My beloved child, I also want you to sit at the table of your life with a generous heart. Do not live like someone constantly afraid there will never be enough. When you understand that I am your source, you will no longer shrink back in fear of losing things. Remember the widow who offered 2 small coins in the temple. In the eyes of the world, her gift seemed insignificant. but in my eyes, it was an offering filled with faith and love. Do you see? What delights me is not the size of the gift, but the heart behind it. And then, every time you use the key of faith to open a new door, you will discover that there is always more light waiting behind it. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because your soul grows more familiar with my presence. You will no longer be shaken so deeply by the noise around you, because within you there is now a place of peace built upon a firm foundation. My beloved child, do not underestimate the good things I have planted within you. They are not fragile seeds. They are treasures from heaven, placed within the heart of someone deeply loved by me. And as you continue walking with gratitude, humility, love, and faith, you will see new doors opening at the appointed time, leading you deeper into the land of peace, maturity, and light that I have long prepared